name is Charles, the Marketing Maverick Davis. I want to welcome you to the Ultimate Brand Design channel. I'm a personal brand strategist and digital marketer. Today, we're going to be talking to a digital acquaintance of mine, Mr. Miles Austin. Here's his brief intro. He says on his LinkedIn profile, he says, I've been posting on my Field the Funnel blog for 18 years now. One of my key learnings over the years is that tech always changes and never be blindly committed to one tool or platform. After almost a year of exploring and testing what platform technologies are out there that might be faster, fresher, more capable than WordPress, I have made the decision to move everything over. This is going to be a really interesting discussion for those that want to understand how to move forward in the technology, because AI is making a huge impact. Mr. Miles Austin, my man, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Charles. It's always a great opportunity to talk about tech and to explore a lot of the areas that we probably have crossed paths on over the years. I'm what am I? I'm now an old fart with new parts, and I moved across the country. I live in the U.S. I presently live in North Carolina. And when you and I first met, I lived in Seattle, and I was there for 30-something years. And last March, my wife and I moved over to North Carolina in the mountains. So we have we call it our cabin in the woods. And we got a little bit of land, and we have wildlife all over the place and birds and everything else. And my only criteria when we made the move, from my perspective, now my wife had a whole long list. My only criteria was a fast internet connection. And we found it, we found the home, and we've been here for about a year now, and I'm thoroughly loving it.
That's great to hear, Miles. That's great to hear. In your personal brand, because that's what this is really going to get into, is how do we live our profession, our career as a lifestyle? I can really relate to that. When you and I first met, I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 2 years ago, I moved to Cebu, Philippines. My only criteria was fast internet and no snow. That was it. And I met those criteria. I'm serious. I'm tired of snow. But Miles,
no shoveling there in the Philippines.
No, none. So how did you get into tech, and how did all this get started for you?
Well, it's a long time ago, Charles. I started my career out of college. I was in real estate for a little bit while I was in school still. And I really enjoyed selling, and I enjoyed helping people buy homes. But what happened was that was before the days of the internet and everything else, obviously a long time ago. And there was the multiple listing service came out with this computerized listing service. And I, at the time, was the chairman of our local board of the multiple listing service for our board of realtors there in Colorado. And I was introduced to it, and it was a little old computer terminal, looks like an old typewriter with a phone coupler up on top. So you'd plug in your phone, you dial a number, and you'd get connected to the big database in the sky from McGraw-Hill about real estate in our local area, which at that time was Fort Collins, Colorado. And I saw instantly, I was blown away. It was brand new. No one else was even using it yet. And I kind of have a tendency to dig deep into underneath the covers and really understand what was going on. And I thought to myself, this is going to change our industry forever. I remember it so clearly. I remember the goosebumps I had at probably 1 o'clock in the morning when I was just sitting there in my home office, just kind of typing away and checking out how everything worked. And literally within the next year, my real estate career went completely nuts. I had
Wow.
it was free listings for me because I had so much data and so much history, and I was able to produce reports. So when I would walk into a customer, these were residential sellers of property. I had more data on their house than they even knew, and I knew everything from time on the
Wow.
market to what it was ridiculous at the time because we'd never had access to that before. So after that, other people in the office and then other people in the area started saying, "What the heck are you doing? You're running a machine
Right.
over there." Um, and from that, I ended up starting to get requests from other boards of realtors saying, "Can you come and talk to our board and explain
Oh,
what this whole computerized multiple listing system is about?" And from there, I went and I probably spoke. I was in Montana, I was in Idaho, I was in North Dakota. So I went to several of these state conventions and spoke about what this magical thing is that they hadn't even seen yet in their board. And then I got an opportunity to teach a workshop at the National Association of Realtors convention back in, I don't know, 76, I don't know, whatever it was, in the 70s. Okay. And what I found was two things. I
yeah.
liked real estate because it paid the bills. I loved the technology because it had my mind going at 200 miles an hour, right? And
Right.
the world is changing right in front of our eyes, and most people resisted it and said, "Oh, it's a fad; it'll go away," or whatever. And I realized I'm an opportunist, and I always look when the crowd's going left, I want to go right. That's just a personal habit of mine.
Ooh, wait.
And I remember thinking to myself,
Yes.
those that are downplaying this are going to regret that decision 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 years from now. I just knew it in my heart and in my bones. They were really missing the boat here. And so that deep
Yes.
involvement with technology led me into some very, very early days of personal computers. If I throw out a name, do you remember the Commodore VIC 20 or
Yeah, I
the
had a
Radio
Radio
Shack
Shack Tris 80. I
TRS?
had
Yeah,
one of those.
absolutely. I had one of each. I
I
had a
had
little,
one.
remember the little digital tape recorder that you could save your data on? That was
Right.
your hard drive, right?
Right.
I've been there. I've
Yeah.
spent more money on obsolete crap than you'd ever imagine. But I did. And I remember just kept thinking,
But Miles, hold up. But Miles, that laid the foundation for our success. If you think
"Yep,
about it carefully, I looked at that, and you are one of those early adopters of technology. And that has really laid the groundwork for your business to build a fund. You like sales, you like technology. So I can see how this evolved into the company that you have today. It's
absolutely."
all about the
Well, and
people,
after,
pieces of the.
no, I was saying, what happened was I was having such a ball with the technology and the real estate and all these, I mean, things like mail merge, right, with WordPress and I
Mhm.
thought I could mail out to an entire neighborhood with one email and hit them all, customized with their name and their all that. So I remember thinking this is nuts. And it was about that time I realized there's way more to this thing, this computer thing, than I even had any understanding. I was not a techie, I'm not a coder, but I knew from a business perspective as a
Mhm.
business owner, this is real and this is going to change the world we know. So, long story short, I started exploring, and there was a really small startup company based in Redmond, Washington called Microsoft. And I thought, oh, I got to.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
started realizing that there were a couple other companies in the greater Seattle area. And I thought, we're moving. I remember telling my wife and my
Mhm.
little young son, we're moving. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm going to go into the computer business. And they're all looking at me, and my relatives were thinking, you've done really well. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? But I convinced them I
Wow.
probably was crazy, but we moved anyway, moved all the way across the country and started selling the old IBM personal computer and the Apple IIe. Those were my first two retail type computers, right? And long story
Okay.
short,
The
customers
XP or
would
the
come
HP?
in.
Which one?
Yeah. Oh, it was nuts. And long story short, it grew and I grew and I was so enthusiastic, but I came not from a technology perspective. I was a business owner first and
Right.
foremost, and I had been most of my adult life. So I understood the business implications. And so when a doctor or a
Right.
dentist or a florist would come into the store in those days, uh, I had them before they ever even knew what my name was because I was talking about their business and how
Yes.
they ran their business and how through the use of all these tools and automation, their world was going to accelerate at a rate they never dreamed of before. And so I got into the quote computer business, and that led me over a 25 year career into the big computer companies, the business lands and the 9X's and all of that. I moved through
Uh-huh.
all those corporate acquisitions and growth and shutdowns and that crazy world that doesn't even exist anymore. But I realized
Right.
how much power there was there. And in the meantime, I kept getting asked to go speak at different companies' sales kickoffs and things about technology. And my branding, to go
Mm-hmm.
back to your first question, started to become. I heard it at a Sales 2.0 conference. I overheard a couple people in the corner of one of the breaks, and someone said, "What was that guy's name that was just talking? I can't remember his name." And the other gentleman said, "Oh, you mean the Web Tools guy? That's Miles Austin." And
Wow.
the Web Tools guy stuck in my head, and I thought, that's pretty darn simple. So that was how I became and branded myself as the Web Tools guy. And from that point forward, I ended up leaving tech. And you say, I'm a big boy now, so I don't want all the corporate crap anymore. But that's when I started 18, 19, whatever it was years ago, Fill the Funnel. But I started writing about all the stuff that I loved and the web
Okay.
tools and the technology to help salespeople and marketing people get their jobs done and still traveling around. I literally traveled the whole northern hemisphere and even into Europe a couple times, as you know, with people like videos and others. And I just had a
Right.
ball. And I kept thinking, people are paying me way too much money just to come talk for an hour. But I loved it. But I also,
Just to
but I
have
also got
fun.
tired of it. Yeah, but it was tiring. It was starting
Yes.
to wear on me, and my kids by now were all grown and everything. So I didn't have that, but I realized I just want to write. I just want to share the power of this stuff because I still had a lot of friends, personal
Right.
friends and acquaintances, and even business employees that were still not believers. They thought, wow, this is not really going to help. And I realized there's an educational opportunity that, in my opinion, will literally change the life of anyone in a business venture, anyone in general, in my opinion, now. But in a business mindset, I kept thinking, there's no one that couldn't dramatically improve their life. So that's how I got into the Fill the Funnel thing. And I've been doing it ever since. And
Right.
I've met a ton of people. You're an example of that. Many years ago, we crossed paths because of some products, and we had some conversations, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's one of those things that when I look back, it was a decision that truly changed my life, but it also made me realize I'll never be unemployed. I've never worked probably a day in my life, the old saying goes, because I'm just having
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
I'm reading and I'm learning. I was just this morning, I just posted a new blog post on Fill the Funnel yesterday. We'll probably get into some of this, but the people at OpenAI, the Chat GPT people, just announced their brand
Yes.
new
Yes.
version of Chat GPT called 4.0. And I thought, and I watched the video. There's a link in the blog post and things. This thing is light years ahead of anything that's been out there. And I thought, man, the pace of this is so fast. And my son actually made a comment last night. I sent him the link and he goes, you know what's happening. At this point, the people at that company at OpenAI aren't even working on this stuff anymore. They've just told they told their AI models, go take the next generate, keep moving. They're sitting back eating popcorn, watching AI continue to improve at such a rate now that it's going nuts. And well, I'll just leave it at that. I know there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, AI, and that's going to ruin the world," and I love to have that conversation with people.
You and I have been around long enough to see the evolution of it. I got a question for you. Have you ever seen the movie called The Corbin Project? This was a movie from our generation where it showed where there were two computers that were programmed for AI.
Okay.
One was in America, it was by Dr. Foreman. Another was in Russia. And then this very same scenario that you just described, that's what the movie was about. That the AI started to learn. So it's real interesting that you brought that up because this is where you and I really uh, excel is we've been in technology longer than a lot of people have even been in their profession, and we've seen the evolution of it. And so now, this is the part that I really look at. I'm really going to be happy to discuss with you AI, and you talked about getting rid of WordPress and moving to System.io. I got rid of WordPress and I'm moving to Webflow. You go first. Why you made your decision?
Well, it's funny. As you mentioned in the intro, I am a believer. You got to be careful in this world because, and I have a lot of good friends. When you get to my age, Charles, it's real easy to get entrenched in your habits and your beliefs, right? And I work really hard. I'm not always successful at it, but I work really hard to keep my mind open. I want to hear and I want to learn and I want to consider all the options, right? And I'm sure you've gone through the same thing. And what I realized was I've been using WordPress for a long time, and early on it was new and fresh, and it was kind of hard. It was difficult, but I really committed to it. After 18 years, I can now build a WordPress site for someone on my phone in the back of a taxi. I mean, you just get to the point when it's so automatic. But there are limitations and there are disadvantages of WordPress if you're trying to do other things. And for me, I do a lot more marketing now than I used to do. And I do a lot more promotional kinds of things. So things like landing pages and sales funnels and opt-in pages and all of that aren't perfectly done within WordPress. They can be done, and I've been doing them, but they're not that elegant. They're not that quick. They just don't have all the bells and whistles. And so that's when I started looking at ClickFunnels and Webflow and lead pages and Kajabi and all these different platforms and Go High Level and all of them. And I went and I was exploring with a friend of mine that we've done some collaboration with, and he mentioned System.io. And I thought, never heard of it. What the heck is it? So typical me, after we hung up, I went and searched it and started looking at it. And I called him back. I said, are you really going to be using this? Because what I saw was everything that WordPress was doing, blogs and pages and all that. But what I really was intrigued with is they also included things like email and all those other things, all built within that tool. And what I realized was they even offer a free version, a free level. And you can have like have a blog, 3 websites, blah, blah, all these things for free. And I thought, man, what a beautiful way to have this in my toolbox for customers and clients and friends that want to get online for whatever reason, but they just don't want to spend even the 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever dollars for WordPress and the right themes and plugins and all that kind of thing and the ongoing maintenance. So after I explored it, and then I tested multiple of these, I've had so many accounts that I don't even know what the logins are anymore for these kinds of
you,
programs. Yeah,
you and me both.
it's nuts. Yeah. But
Yeah, it is.
System.io was one I thought, first of all, there's a ton of training online from lots of people, but the video
Okay.
training alone is worth it, and it's intense. And I have probably sent 15 or more people over to explore System.io, and most of them have said, I started an account. It's free. It literally is free. Now, there are upgrade
Right.
paths. If you want to have 10 sales funnels and 2 blogs, you got to pay, $13 a month or whatever it might be. So there is an upgrade
Right.
path if they need it. But most people, I've done a lot of work with old high school friends and things that they say, I just want to blog, I want to write about my gardening, or I'm a school teacher and I just want to write
Okay.
little stories. You don't, WordPress is great and it can do it, but you got to buy hosting, you got to buy a theme, you got to buy a few plugins, you got to connect it to an email system,
Right.
you got all these things, and that's not them, and it's not what they want to do. So in the past, I'd end up doing it for them, either free because I'm a goofball, or for a small fee,
Right.
but I wanted to help them get online. With System.io, you can do all of that and it's
Okay.
free, and they can usually figure out almost everything themselves. If they just go to YouTube and type in their question on System.me, people are going to go, here it is, here's what you do. And 5 minutes later, they now have an email system working within their System.me platform. So I like it for that reason. And I thought to myself, great time in my life. I'm going to make that move. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting all the pieces together, the plumbing, I call it, underneath and behind the
Right.
scenes,
Right.
so that at some point I'll do a migration and take 18 years worth of content on Fill the Funnel and move it all over to System E. In the meantime, though, they also have a really neat course platform built in, included. And I do a lot of courses,
Okay.
but I've done them on multiple other platforms. And I'm going to be moving those
Really?
over first. So I'll take things from Teachable and WordPress, all the different ones that I have out there, and I'm going to bring all those into one platform so you can go to one page and see 20 or 30 little boxes of all the different training programs that I have, and you can kind of say, oh, look, I want to learn about email. I want to look about creating landing pages. I want to learn about AI, whatever it might be. Email writing is one that I've been spending a lot of time on lately. So you'll start to see, and again, it's not something you take lightly. 18 years of content is a lot of words and a lot of posts and
Yes,
a
it
lot
is.
of stuff. And so it's going to take some time, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in this calendar year. And by the end of the year, I'll be able to look at 2025 and say, Phil, and the domain will stay the same. Everything will be the same, but it will start to look a little different. I've got some new capabilities, some new features, and all the other things will now be under that same big platform versus WordPress and 10 other options that I have out there.
That's we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat. But this is my question. Okay, you're creating a teaching platform. You're going to monetize it some kind of way. Um, how do you plan on doing that? Because, like, you look, the platforms are moving for people. We have a lot of knowledge. Like in your particular case, I think a lot of people would be interested in your skills at how to migrate from WordPress to System.io. There's a lot of different things people are going to be facing. But the next part is, what do you think? We were talking about it earlier. Now's the time. What's going on with AI? 'Cause it's going to change the world. It really is. You
Yeah.
you go for that. I was
Well, it is going to change. It already has changed it. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that what they're now experiencing is all been created or driven by AI. They just don't know it. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't always have to be in your face, right? But everything, I mean, the news cycle is all driven by AI. AI is telling the news people what the hot stories are, what the trending stories are, what's worldwide, what is the interest, how much interest, how many people are interested in Prince Harry, right? I mean, they know all this because of what AI is already able to feed to them. So all of us are
Wow.
being driven by AI, whether we know it or not. And so what I looked at early on, I've got over the years, I've met and worked with, boy, maybe a dozen, but 3 or 4 really good developers, code people that write code and write programs and create stuff that I've got
Uh-huh.
good partnerships with. And so I went to them. The first one I said was, and this was now about 4 months ago, I said, I'm not a graphics artist. I'm not a photographer. I have no artistic talent at all. None. But I said, look,
Okay.
I- all this AI, these AI tools are cool, and there's products like obviously Chat GPT and Doll E and Mid Journey and all these tools. Uh, I'm overwhelmed. I just want to be able, when I write a blog post, when I write a blog post about System E, I want to be able to go somewhere, type in an expression or a title about how to convert WordPress to System E. And that's all I'll type in. But I want AI to then go back without anything else and go in and create an image and do it in different sizes, doing it in about 30 different flavors. Do I want it to be a cartoon? Do I want it to be realistic? Do I want it to be like a photo? Do I want it to be I mean, there's 30 different variations to this. Hit the button. I want a 1024 by 1024 square. Hit the button. Roughly 30 seconds later, there it is, right? There's my image. And it's so
Right.
much better than
Right.
anything I would ever do. And I've gotten letters twice in my career from big companies
Uh-huh.
like Getty Images going, "Hey, dude, we own that image that you have on your blog post. We need $5,000 from you, or we're going to sue you," right? So
Uh-oh.
that's happened to me twice, and both times we worked out something, but I took money out of my pocket and sent it to them and said, darn it, why do I not pay closer attention to that? Because usually I'd go into Google and say, give me a picture of a whatever, a giraffe in the jungle or whatever it might be. And
Uh-huh.
I get a bunch of
Uh-huh.
photos and I just copy one, put it in. I'll sometimes put a link in if there is one, and I use that in a blog post or in a story or a PDF. If it's copyrighted, those big boys especially are going to come after you. And there are some law firms in the country or in the world that they have algorithms that go check all this. And when they find someone that used an image, they have a little code in it and they know it, they get
Yeah.
alerted to it. And you're going to get a nasty email saying you better send us a lot of money. So with all of that as a background, I thought, I don't want to deal with that anymore. So every image I now create, including the blog post I did today, is all generated with this AI tool that we had built and created that I sell, that um, is able to generate an image that is custom, unique, and is nowhere else in the world. So I'll never again have to worry about some attorney trying to steal money and grab money from me, even if it was inadvertently. I no longer have that issue. So I go from a guy that, how do I even create an image, or what do I find, or how do I type in a brief sentence or a description or a little paragraph or two, hit the button, and it creates whatever I need. And like I said, I just did this morning, I think I did 10 or 11 of those images in about 2 minutes um, in my most recent blog post. And they're not all perfect. There might be a word misspelled if there's an image with a word. I don't care. Again, people will complain, oh, the spelling's wrong. Not always, but when it is, who cares? You got the idea. You got the message from an image, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that was one example where I thought, I have a need. I know lots of people do. We're not all good with Photoshop, etc. Um, how
Right.
can we create a tool that is easy, simple, fast, and affordable, that they can take advantage of
Yeah.
AI, go in and type in a sentence, and get a neat image they can use in for whatever purpose they want? we have one gal that runs a food kitchen, and she wants to put an image at the top of every week's menu. And maybe the theme of
Okay.
the week is Mexican siestas or whatever. I'm just making something up. She'll type that in.
Right.
She gets a series of images. She picks one she likes. She puts it at the top of the newsletter or the weekly menu that gets distributed. And she looks like a star. And everyone started to notice, hey, those are really cool photos. Where'd you get that? So those are the ways that I like to use technology. How can I improve my life, simplify my life, and do a better job at what I'm trying to do?
Absolutely. So you have a software product coming out?
It's out. I have 6 or 7, but that one I have out. It's already on the market. It's called Email Magic Pro. Excuse me. It's called visualmarketingmagic.com. And you can go and learn about it and you can buy a copy. It's like you're under $40, right? And you use
Right.
it forever and you go in, you type in what you want to do and go boom. And like I said, it's just one of those things. It's simple, it's straightforward. It's not the most bleeding edge, the brand new whatever release or what. I don't care. I just want to get a good image, way better than anything I could create.
Wow. Wow. So how's that working for you? Have you marketed it yet, or going through word of mouth, or what?
I have a landing page at email, the whole visualmarketingmagic.com website. There's a landing page there. You can read about it, see all the features. You can buy it, and you're up and running within 5 minutes. Um, I once in a while I'll do advertising on social media. Once in a while
Mhm.
I'll run some ads on Google on excuse me on well Google, but I'll do a lot with Microsoft Bing and do advertising that I pay a dollar amount for to get traffic to that site. Um, and what's happening now, it's been out for about 3 months. So now people are using it and they're telling their friends and their family and others, hey, go check this thing out. It's really cheap. And they're doing it. So it's growing now kind of organically. So I'm not doing a lot of promotion on it anymore, but it's out there. And it works really well. So that's just one example of how I've thought I have a need. I know other people probably do, but I want to fix my
Yeah.
problem. And now I've got an answer. I don't even think about graphics anymore. It's an instant thing. I have the same thing. I don't know about you, but I do a lot of email marketing. I have a pretty extensive list of people that have subscribed
Hmm.
over the years or gone to my webinars or events or signed up for the newsletters or whatever. Um, and I don't know about you, but for me, one of the big challenges is I'll sit down on my keyboard. Okay, I want to get an email out. And I sit at my keyboard and I'm looking at a white screen. I got that little blinking cursor to the upper left. And I just go blank. Where do I start? Where do I go? What do I want to do? Right? So I thought, okay,
Right.
there's got to be a way to use AI to get me started, to give me some ideas, to kind of give me a structure around a topic or a word or a concept
Right.
to
Right.
get started. So I've done the same thing that I did
Understand.
with the visual marketing magic. We did the same thing with a tool to create email and a whole series of emails if you choose to. So a lot of my friends, as an example, are in the product creation business, right? Or they're doing online marketing or digital marketing or whatever it might be, and they might have a product that they want to promote, or maybe they have a product of their own or a course that they're going to launch. They want to let people know. Well, traditionally, that's not just a
Right.
one email thing, right? There's different groups
Right.
of people, different authors that have, the 7 day launch formula, and there's different ones out there from a lot of really smart people, way smarter than I. So what we did, we built this email tool that you can put in a URL, like from someone's promotion for a course. Let's say they're selling a vegan cooking course. Okay. I can put in the URL to their
Hmm.
course page that describes it all and lays it all out. I put in a URL in this tool, and then they say, what kind of an email do you want? And I'll say, I'll do I want to do a webinar series. I want to have a webinar and have this guy is going to come in and do a webinar with me, but I want to have a series of emails, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be. And, what tone do you want? Do I want it to be friendly or casual, or do I want it to be professional, or whatever it might be? I pick that. And then do I want short, medium, or long? Click that, make that selection, hit the button, and it'll generate the whole series of emails for me based on my selection. Then I can go in and either use them as is and just import them into my email system, or I can edit them and change them or add a little bit here and there to add a little bit more personality, based on whatever it might be. But it's done. And so again, my challenge was I'm looking at a blank screen going, man, where do I even start? I'm really not, I'm not really into going and writing 7 emails in a series, right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Right.
I don't have to anymore. I go in and put in a URL and say, here's what it's all about. You figure it out, AI. Hit the button and it generates it based on my preferences. Pretty cool
Miles,
stuff.
this is going to change marketing. It's going to make it available to everyone. One of the things I want to make go out to you is be sure and send me the link in the email so that when I put this up on YouTube, it'll be in the description so we can generate traffic for your business and your software. And I think this is a good segue. People will understand the power and impact of AI is limitless. Here we talk to Mr. Miles Austin, who's sales oriented. I'm more engineering oriented, digital marketing oriented. And he's coming up with these ideas, and the ideas are endless. You can ask AI to go through and brainstorm with it, and it'll tell you what you need to know. So, Miles, we're gonna end it here. And is there anything you want to tell the audience before we end this recording?
No, other than here's what I would say is I still hear a lot of people with apprehension about AI. They're nervous. They think it's going to ruin the world. It's going to be the end of, civilization, whatever it might be. And they're afraid of it. And what I keep telling people is, look, it's already too late for that. I mean, it's already here. You're not going to put this Pandora back in the box, right? It can't be. So rather than ignore it and fight it, open your mind and just listen, just observe. And if there's an area that you might really need some help with in your life, whatever it could be health, it could be exercise, whatever it might be, open your mind and listen,
Right.
and then explore it a little bit. Don't automatically say, this is evil, this is crap, this is ridiculous. I'm never going to touch it. Because if you do, whether you're in business or just in life anymore, you will be left behind. It is already here. It's already happening. And just open your mind and explore it. Just listen and try it out. Just explore it and think, where could I get benefit in my life? And if people would just do that, I think this whole AI could be dangerous. Of course it could. So can the laundry detergent if you use it wrong, right? I mean, everything has upside and downside, right? So don't eat those pods, kids.
Okay, Miles, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Hold on a minute. I'm in this session, but we're going to stay online.
Okay.